Welcome to Tennessee's at-home learning series for literacy. Today's lesson is for all our third graders out there, though everyone is welcome to tune in. This lesson is the third in this week's series. My name is Miss Copeland, and I'm a third grade teacher at Venus Stewart Elementary in Gallatin, Tennessee. I'm so excited to be your teacher for this lesson. Welcome to my virtual classroom. Every day I've been writing a note to one of my students in my class who I'm missing. Today's note is for Estrella. Estrella, I'm missing you every day in our class. Your positive attitude is inspiring to everyone around you. You are kind and caring and a hard worker. And I hope that you are doing well. Love, Miss Copeland. If you didn't see our previous lessons, you can find them on www.tn.gov/education. You can still tune in to today's lesson if you haven't seen any of our others, but it might be more fun if you go back and watch our other lessons, since today we will be talking about things we learned previously. Today we will be learning about where water is on Earth and how to identify the main idea of each chapter. Before we get started, to participate fully in our lesson today, you will need your independent practice assignment from the previous lesson, 3 pieces of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on, and the student packet for ELA Grade 3, Lesson 18, which can be found on the tn.gov website. Okay, let's begin. You know, I didn't realize there was so much information about water I didn't know. In the last lesson, we found out all the water in the whole world is connected. To summarize our learning, let's pull out your summary paragraph from the assignment given to complete after the lesson. Grab your summary paragraph while I wait. Remember, our text yesterday was about one well. We noticed a well in the illustration and that the water serves animals, people, and plants all over the world. And we noticed all of those things in the illustration. Animals using the water, some aquatic animals using that water, people, and even plants. We all use that water. Your assignment was to write a paragraph that explains where water is on Earth. Good readers and writers use their tools and previous learning to help them. Let's look at our main idea graphic organizer with our notes. Remember, from the illustration, some key details we had found were that we noticed a well that people use as a source or supply of water. We noticed the illustration shows a large ocean and that people and animals use the water. From the text, we noticed that all water is connected. There is one source or supply of water, and every drop or form of water on Earth is from the global well. Together, we determined the main idea. How we treat our water in the global well will affect every species on the planet, right now and for years to come. The time has come for you to tell me what you wrote. Well, it seemed you learned about Earth's water, and I dare say you enjoyed it too. Your paragraph might sound something like this. Every species on the planet uses water, and all water is connected. How well we take care of our water source impacts plants, animals, and people now and for many centuries to come. Our planet Earth has one water source, which can be called a global well. That means every drop of water formed, melted, hardened, and rained on Earth is connected. Because we have one source of water, how we treat it is a global affair. Now we are going to connect the last lesson to this lesson, much like water is connected all across the planet. Today, our goal is to closely read our text one well the story of water on Earth, and specifically the chapter titled The Water in the Well, and find the main idea of our text. Stay with me on this ride to continue learning about our global well. Remember, the global well refers to the one water source that supplies the whole world with water. Please get prepared with one sheet of paper, your pencil, and a place to write. I'll show you how I made a quick graphic organizer to help with this lesson. I labeled it Note Catcher. Please draw this graphic organizer on your paper. You will use this note catcher to organize your notes as we learn together today. So I have the first column for some different vocabulary words we will hear, the middle column for the definition of that word, and the final column for what I know or how I figured that word out. The text is our largest tool. Listen as I read for the vocabulary word marsh. Marsh is a word that you might not have heard before. To understand the text better, we will make sure we understand the words before we find the main idea of the text. So here's our section of the text today titled The Water in the Well. We live on a watery planet. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered with water. This surface water is found in oceans, lakes, streams, rivers, marshes, even in puddles and the morning dew. There is so much water that if you looked down at Earth from space, it would appear blue. But there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found just about everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. Water is also frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. And there is water in the atmosphere. Every one of these water sources feeds Earth's one well. Okay, let's think together about what we just read. I'll pull the sentence with the word marsh. This surface water is found in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, marshes, even in puddles in the morning dew. I will use a strategy to help me figure out the definition. When I read this sentence, I realize marshes is in a list of places that water is found. Therefore, I know a marsh is a place that has water. Unfortunately, I don't have any other clues in the text, so I used another tool, the dictionary. A marsh is an area of low land that floods in wet seasons and typically stays soaked all the time, or soggy land. To help us understand what a marsh is and looks like, take a look at this photograph. Some might call a marsh a swamp. Good readers, make notes. Please use your graphic organizer to add the definition and how you knew. So our first word, marsh, we said is an area of low land that floods in wet seasons and typically stays soaked all the time, or soggy land. And we could figure that out from the text because I know a marsh is a place with water because it was in a sentence that lists places that have water. The surface water is found in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, marshes, even in puddles in the morning dew. All of those places mention something with water. Glacier was another word that isn't clearly defined. While we don't have an exact definition, I'll use the same strategy as I used with marsh. We will start with rereading the text. Here is the sentence from the text. Water is also frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. While I don't know an exact definition, I know from the text that a glacier has to do with frozen water. The dictionary helped me fully understand what a glacier is. A glacier is a slowly moving mass or river of ice formed by the accumulation of snow on mountains. To help visualize a glacier, we use photographs. So here's an example of a glacier. Please add the notes on glacier to your organizer. So here is our definition we just said. It's a slowly moving mass or river of ice formed by the accumulation and compaction of snow on mountains or near the poles. And I know because water is frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. A glacier is frozen water. Now for the term groundwater. The author gave us the definition and even where we would find it. I'll reread the sentence. Listen carefully for the definition of groundwater. But there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found just about everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. We've added to the note catcher for marsh and glacier. Please add what you learned about groundwater to our chart. Here is the definition I wrote. Water held underground in the soil or in pores and crevices in rocks. And then my clue was, the text says, there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. Excellent detective work pulling out clues from our text. You may add to your notes too. Our text will be easier to understand now that we have an understanding of some vocabulary words based on the text, on our dictionary work, and some photographs. Finding the main idea would be difficult when we don't understand what the author is telling us. We are ready to dive into the text about the location of water around the world. It's time to reread our text, One Well, the Story of Water on Earth. This informational text is written by Rochelle Strauss and illustrated by Rosemary Woods. As you listen, please keep in mind that water is all connected and comes from one source. Because our water is all connected, we need to be very aware of how we treat the global well. Okay, let's reread our text, The Water in the Well. We live on a watery planet. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered with water. This surface water is found in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, marshes, even in puddles and the morning dew. There is so much water that if you looked down at Earth from space, it would appear blue. But there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found just about everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. Water is also frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps, and there is water in the atmosphere. Every one of these sources feeds Earth's one well. In informational text, we often find charts to help us organize our thoughts and understanding of the text. This chart shows the percent. Looking at the percent, what holds the most water on our planet? Yes, oceans hold the vast or largest amount of water on our planet. You were right. Our oceans hold a lot of water. Did you notice the first sentence of our text? It said, "We live on a watery planet." That is a powerful statement. I want to pause here and think through why the author would start with such a simple yet powerful sentence. When I think of the many millions of people that live on land, I wonder why we would call our planet watery. Using what I know about our language, I know when the suffix y is added to a noun, it changes to an adjective. Take a look. Watery means containing or having water. The author wants me to know we have a planet with lots of water. The next sentence tells me exactly how much water our planet has on the surface. I'll read that sentence. Here it was from the text. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered with water. I know 50% would equal half of Earth's surface. Therefore, 70% is more than half. That's a lot of water. Before we find the main idea and key details of our text, there are a couple of sentences that I'd like you to examine more closely. Because I know a glacier is a layer of ice packed onto mountains, I wonder if a polar ice cap is similar to a glacier. I don't see text clues, so back to the dictionary I go. To help me, I also looked for photos too. The top picture is a picture taken from space of a polar ice cap covering land. The second picture is showing how polar ice caps are masses of ice covering large amounts of land. Now we've read for vocabulary understanding. It's time to engage with the text to gather key details along with the text evidence. The key details will help me deduce or figure out the main idea. We've pulled the text apart. Now let's put the text together for meaning. As we move forward, you will need another sheet of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on. I'll ask you to draw this simple graphic organizer. So 2 boxes, our top box will be for the main idea. The bottom box will be for key details from the text that help me understand the main idea. Listen carefully for directions as we work together. You will be finding key details to support our main idea of text. You practiced this skill in the last lesson. Don't worry, we are a team and I will help you as we move along. My job is to reread the text. Your job is to listen carefully to find facts, definitions, and details that will support the main idea. So looking back at one section of one well, starting at the bottom, I'll complete my chart. We live on a watery planet. Almost 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. This surface is found in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, marshes, even in puddles in the morning dew. There is so much water that if you looked down at Earth from space, it would appear blue. But there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found just about everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. Water is also frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. And there is water in the atmosphere. Every one of these water sources feeds Earth's one well. I'll get us started. We have discussed the fact that Earth's surface is more than half water. This detail supports the topic sentence, "We live on a watery planet." The next sentence gives me a list of the many places on Earth where water is found. Listen to this sentence again. This surface water is found in oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, marshes, even in puddles in the morning dew. I notice the size of the area of water can be very large or very small. Let's add this to our organizer. So the details we just mentioned, more than half of Earth's surface is covered with water. Many places have water, some are small and some are large. Your turn. I'll read the next sentence. Listen carefully and be ready to tell me what you learned and why the author included this fact. There is so much water that if you look down at Earth from space, it would appear blue. I'll pause here. Aren't you the smart scientist? Yes, the author told us how the water covers so much of the Earth that the water looks blue and can be seen from space. I heard you say the author was giving a supporting detail to the topic statement about our planet being watery. Thank you for your effort. The author goes on to say, but there is also water we can't see beneath the Earth's surface. This groundwater can be found just about everywhere. It fills the cracks in rocks and the spaces between rocks, grains of sand and soil. Most groundwater is close to the Earth's surface, but some of it is buried quite deep. Why does the author tell us about groundwater? Right again. I heard you say the author wanted us to know that some of Earth's water can't be seen. Groundwater is below ground. To wrap up this chapter, the author wrote, water is also frozen in glaciers and polar ice caps. And there is water in the atmosphere. Every one of these water sources feeds Earth's one well. What key details did you find in these sentences? You are good readers. When you read closely, you said the author wanted us to understand that ice is water, just solid water. I think she told us this to add more places that are sources of Earth's water. In fact, Mrs. Strauss, the author, even said there was water in the atmosphere. Lastly, I'll check for understanding of the atmosphere. I've got this. The atmosphere is the layer of gases that surround our planet. The text said, and there is water in the atmosphere. That is a surprise for me. I didn't know water was in space around our Earth. Now we are able to add these details to our main idea and key details organizer. Add these details to your organizer. So we've said large bodies of water can be seen from space. Water in the form of ice can be found in glaciers and polar ice caps. And water is in the atmosphere too. Putting all key details together, what is the main idea? Write your thoughts in your main idea box. Good job of using the key details to identify the main idea. I heard you say that water is in many places on Earth, is below the surface, and in space around Earth. I heard you say every drop of water feeds the global well. Please complete your key details chart. I love watching you learn. After working together in this lesson, it has come to the time to give you an assignment for you to complete independently after this lesson. You will need another sheet of paper, a pencil, and a surface to write on. Please write the directions as I read them. Your assignment is to write a paragraph that explains where water is on Earth. Use specific facts, definitions, and details from the text to support your writing. Use your graphic organizer for support also. I'll stop here and give you time to write down your assignment. I enjoyed working on learning where water is found on Earth with you today. We also engaged with several vocabulary words that we will read about, think about, talk about, and write about. Thank you for inviting me into your home. I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson in Tennessee's At Home Learning series. Bye.